Welcome, everyone. I am John Ryan of SportsMemo.com, and I have in the house Eric Pauly again, second time on the show with me as a host. God help him. And my good friend and pal, professional sports bettor Rocky Atkinson. Gentlemen, we don't have any NBA games today, but we have a ton of baseball to talk about. And now we're starting to get enough games into the season where the storylines are starting to take place, some of which their respective fans probably don't like too much, and others they couldn't feel better. And we're going to start it off right away with the first game, and that is the Tampa Bay Rays going out to the West Coast, traveling from the Florida Gulf Coast to take on the Seattle Mariners. The Mariners' offense, guys, I think is rather anemic. You look at their flash stats, and they're in the second half of the rankings, but recently they just have not been able to get the ball in the right spot of the ballpark. So they're third in the American League West. The Tampa Bay Rays are in that dreaded American League East, and I wouldn't want to be in that division if you paid me what they paid those teams to be in that division, I think I probably would. But it is the toughest division in baseball by far. And, a lot of times these teams play divisional matchups, and then they go out west, and the travel, even in April and May, can be a significant factor. Let's start it off with Rocky Atkinson. Rocky, welcome to the show as always. Tell us what's going on over at SportsMemo.com for you, and then take it away and tell us where the best bet is on this matchup.
Thank you, John. I actually passed here on Thursday, nothing adding up to a play. We didn't have any NBA games tonight. I didn't like any hockey, and I didn't like any baseball, actually. I'll give a few leans, of course, on the show here. On a massive run in the NBA, 89-55 is my long-term NBA run, 71% in the playoffs this year. Hopefully I can grab some more winners this weekend. Let's hit the Tampa Bay-Seattle matchup. Tampa Bay's 15-10 this year. Seattle comes in with a 12-13 record on the season. Tampa Bay 6-2 their last 8 games overall. Seattle was 1-7 their last 8 games overall. Tampa Bay's 4-1 against left-handed starters this year. Tampa the past 3 years on the road when the total was 7 or less. Tampa Bay's 5-0 the last 5 road games. Tampa Bay is 46-18 their last 64 games against a team with a losing record. Let's go to look at Seattle a little bit here. Seattle scoring only 2.4 runs per game their past 7 games overall, where they have a team batting average of only 214, and they're 1-7 the last 8 games as an underdog. Let's take a look at the pitchers here tonight. Shane McClanahan gets the start for Tampa Bay. He has a 3.00 ERA overall this year, a 1.50 ERA on the road this season, and he also has a 1.50 ERA in his one career start versus Seattle. Robbie Ray's decent pitcher himself, 2-2 with a 4.15 ERA overall this year. I'm going to recommend the better team here tonight. I'm going to recommend to play on Tampa Bay.
I like it, Rocky. Like it a lot. Let's see if Eric Pauly agrees with that, or maybe he might be on the total or possibly the different side here with the host Seattle Mariners. But Eric, tell us what you're doing over there at SportsMemo.com before you break down the game.
Yeah, of course. So for SportsMemo.com, I have daily best bet write-ups that I do 2 to 3 games every single weekday, Monday through Friday. I wrote about 2 of the games that we're going to be going into detail on the show later. This is one of the games that I do not have a concrete pick on. I do have a lean, and my leans do agree with Rocky. I really liked some of the points that Rocky made. And as you know from some of the past Sports Memo shows, my favorite thing as a baseball fan is a great pitching matchup. And against the Rays, in this Rays-Mariners matchup, we have really an ace versus ace matchup. As Rocky mentioned, the Rays are on a 3-game winning streak. The Mariners are on a 3-game losing streak. But breaking down this pitching matchup, you have Shane McClanahan, the 25-year-old, who through 5 starts so far this season has gone 27 innings and only allowed 9 earned runs. But what really impresses me is this kid's command, and that he's this absolute strikeout machine. He has 42 Ks over 27 innings to only 7 walks so far. But from the Rays side, they've only won 2 of his 5 starts so far this season. That's definitely not a knock on McClanahan. That just has to do with the Rays not really getting support for their ace. The Mariners are middle of the pack against left-handed pitchers. They have a 704 OPS against lefties. But taking a look at Robbie Ray, through 5 starts, he's gone 30.1 innings, allowed 14 runs, 26 hits and 12 walks, which are a little too many base runners for my liking. But these stats are a little bit inflated because in the second start, he had allowed 10 hits for the White Sox, and he's kind of kept it below 6 or lower hits in all of his other 4 starts this season. The Mariners are 3-2 in games that he goes, but Tampa Bay kind of mashes against lefties. They have a 728 OPS, which is 11th in baseball. I'm going to agree with Rocky that I enjoy, and I think that the better team is the Tampa Bay Rays, and they're going to win this game. But my lean for this game, no official play, is that the Tampa Bay Rays will win the first 5 innings on the money line, and I got that at $1.30.
I love the breakdown. Well done, Eric. Now I guess you guys are waiting to see what I'm going to say here. And Rocky and I must be running 1-2 in the NBA, and this is certainly not. Rocky's percentage might be better than mine, but 21-6 for 78% winners, and over the last 77, I'm hitting 68% against the number, and 7-2 and 5% max bet. So, I guess Rocky, you're one of my best friends, so it would be safe to say that maybe the people listening to this show should go to Sports Memo and get both of our subscriptions. And after all, we're running a special deal for everybody, and that's 40 days for the price of 30, less 100. So you get us for basically just slightly under $5 a day, or the cost of a really piss poor IPA at your local tavern. If you can't afford that, then you must be doing something wrong, or you're just not interested in sports betting and sports in general, and that's fine. We all have different interests, and that's what makes the world go round. But my pick in this game is on the Tampa Bay Rays. The Seattle team has kind of fallen off the cliff here. And as our good friend and pal Steve Merrill has said on our financial shows that he and I do together, you never catch a falling knife. So a stock price is collapsing. You don't stick your hand out and try to buy it. You don't take your good hard-earned money and try to buy that stock thinking that you're smarter than the market, because guess what? You're not. And you're not smarter than the sports betting market either. So when you see a team like Seattle, 1 game under 500, you think, well, they're not that bad. They've lost 7 of 8. They're due to win. That's the worst word in sports betting I can think of in my 27-year career. Just because you're flipping a coin and tails comes up 7 times in a row doesn't mean that heads is due. And all you have to do is go to your local casino and watch the roulette table and how many times red comes up in a row, and then you see almost everybody go black because they think it's due because red has come up too many times. Well, yours truly, if I see that, I'm going to still bet red. I know you guys will too. So with a betting system here, I have a little betting angle I want to share with you guys. It's pretty strong. Seattle's coming off a sweep too, by the way, at Houston, and that team's starting to turn it around. You're going to bet against home teams with a money line between plus 125 and minus 125 after being swept in a road 3-game series by a division rival. That was the Houston Astros, I just said. And with a winning percentage that is just under 50%, but not lower than 40% on the season. That combination of parameters since 1996, 29-7 for 81% winners. I'm squarely on the Tampa Bay Rays in this matchup. Sorry I digressed there, gentlemen, for just a second there with my little analogy to the flipping a coin and everything else. But there's a lot more to this than flipping a coin. We do a lot of hard work before we come up with a premium bet for our clients. But on to our next game here. The next game is the Miami Marlins is a team that, guys, I just love underdogs. I really do. And I think that's why over the years, I've steadily become a Red Sox fan, because they've always been the underdog. They rarely are the favorite to win anything. And I just kind of gravitate towards that. And the Marlins haven't won anything since that guy, Josh Beckett, was pitching for him, I believe, as a rookie and a second-year player. But the Marlins have an immense amount of talent in their pitching core, and their bats, I think, are a little bit underrated. And again, they're young, but they're led by a very disciplined-oriented coach in Don Mattingly, who's maybe not a father image, but in all due respect, I hope he's not listening. He's more of a grandfather now type of image. When he was manager and obviously a player, he was very intense. And now he seems to have relaxed a little bit and letting the game kind of come to him, letting the players make the mistakes so he can teach them how to play better. And I like them. I think they're going to be a 500 team at the end of the year. Let's start with Rocky here and see what he thinks of this Marlins against the San Diego Padres matchup.
All right, John, we have Miami coming in with a 12-12 record on the season. San Diego 16-9 this year. San Diego, the key here, I think, is San Diego's coming off an 8-game road trip, including a doubleheader yesterday in Cleveland. So while they're playing at home here, I think they could be a little tired for being on the road so long. San Diego's also 2-6 their last 8 games against the National League East. Miami's 4-0 their last 4 games after scoring 5 runs or more in their previous game. Miami's 5-0 their last 5 games against a starter with a whip greater than 1.30. And let's take a look at this pitching matchup. We have Luzardo going for Miami here. He's 2-1 with a 3.10 ERA overall this year, 1-0 with a 1.80 ERA on the road this season. Towing the rubber for San Diego tonight is going to be Nick Martinez. He's 1-2 with a 4.12 ERA overall this year, 0-2 with a 5.58 ERA at home this season, and he's 1-2 with a 4.91 last 3 starts. I'm going to recommend a play on the Miami Marlins here in this one.
Yeah, I like it. I inherently like the Marlins. I have to be careful sometimes not to just gravitate towards them because there are games where they're just not the right side. But their pitchers, I'm telling you, they could end up making some trouble for the National League East and whoever wants to win that division. It looks like the Mets right now. But we have a long way to go before anything is determined in terms of crowning a champion in the National League East. Let's see what Eric has to say about this matchup now.
Yeah, so I'm again on the same side as Rocky. You would think that we spent some time going over these games prior to the show and came to a conclusion, but I think just great minds think alike, even on the fly. I recommend the Marlins on the money line this game. They're on a 4-game losing streak. They were swept in a 3-game series by the D-backs, but all of those games were competitive. And they lost the the series finale that they had against the Mariners, all at home, and now they're traveling across the country to go to San Diego to take on the Padres. But like you said, where my interest lies in Miami is they are a very young team. Their offense is kind of molding into its own form, but their pitching staff, while being young as well, has already kind of taken that next step and proven to be MLB caliber. You have Jesus Luzardo going for the Miami Marlins, a 24-year-old. He's thrown 20.1 innings so far this year. He's allowed 7 earned runs, 13 hits and 9 walks, but he struck out 28 batters through those 20.1 innings. So that's allowing him to keep that earned run average kind of down because he's minimizing the outs and making sure that batters that are in scoring position aren't scoring because he's getting those punch outs. He's had another thing that backs up Luzardo and how good he is really his advanced metrics. So he has a .207 expected batting average against, a 34.1% K percentage, and a .359 expecting slugging percentage. So all those numbers are above the league average. So that's really good for Mr. Luzardo. The Padres are pretty solid against lefties as a lineup. Their OPS is 739, which is 7th in baseball, but they also strike out a lot. So Luzardo could certainly kind of be some feast or famine getting those strikeouts, or if the Padres are able to hit situationally, can kind of knock some runners in scoring position. But the reason why I like the Marlins over the Padres is because Nick Martinez does not really inspire a lot of confidence for me. He has gone, this is his 5th start of the season, and he's allowed 19.2 innings and allowed 9 runs on 21 hits. And he has a good job minimizing walks, but he also does not strike out batters. He has 5 Ks on the season to just 2 walks. Miami is 6th in the MLB versus righties with a 729 OPS. And if Martinez is going to allow too many base runners, I think the Marlins can certainly capitalize. So I am on the Marlins as well as Rocky. I like them on the money line.
That's great stuff. It's great stuff, Eric. I'm also with you guys. I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know if I am thinking like smart minds like you two guys are, but seriously, I think if all 3 of us, no kidding around, I'm not trying to put the whammy on us, if all 3 of us like the fish, I think you should definitely go to your grocery store and get some salmon and turn on this game later tonight because it is Seattle, and that's in the area where some of the best salmon is farmed and wild caught in the nation. So I think that made sense with my analysis there, didn't it? But seriously, I want to augment what Eric was going down the road with. And Luzardo is the real deal, guys. I mean, that strikeout, that K percentage of 34%, just 11 walk percentage, that compares to a K percentage of 20.7 for Martinez. And Martinez walks 14% of the batters he faces, and he's not dominating. His exit velocity average is 91 miles an hour, which is on the borderline of becoming pretty bad. 46.4% of pitches thrown are hard hit. That's not good. That is not good against anybody. Even the Cincinnati Reds would hit this guy, I think. And Luzardo throws a sinker that if you have a chance to watch it, it's spectacular. The horizontal movement is late, it's heavy, and it almost looks like he's throwing a reverse cutter sometimes. But the only difference is that it's traveling at about 97, 98 miles an hour with about 8 inches of movement in on the hands of a right-handed batter. So he saws off a ton of people and keeps the lumberyard quite busy with that blazing buzzsaw of a fastball. And he relies on that. But then he throws that change and a curve, which is very good. And he's not afraid to throw a curve to a to a left-handed batter. And he places it very well. He'll throw it to the back heel of that hitter, which is what pitchers are taught to do. And it's a very effective pitch because when he throws something at 82, 84 miles an hour, guess what, guys? When he throws at 97, up in the strike zone, it looks like about 102, I would think. So, absolutely great analysis, you two, and I'm on board with the same play on the fish. So let's go to our third and final game of the evening, and that is the St. Louis Cardinals. And they're playing pretty darn well fundamentally. They're taking on the New York Giants. I'm into the NFL draft again. Anyway, it feels like it's Friday and it's only Thursday. But anyway, the San Francisco Giants. And the San Francisco Giants are in a rare situation being a slate home dog. They won over 100 games last year, guys, and took the Dodgers down to the wire and actually won the National League West Division, if you remember. Dodgers were a wild card team and had to play a one-game elimination, which they did win. But this is this year, and this is what matters. So we have two teams with identical records, both of them playing exceptionally well. The Giants not so well by their standards over the last week. But, tell us, let's start with Eric this time, and tell us initially why you think the Giants are the home underdog in this matchup.
Yeah, so I think a lot of that has to do with some uncertainty for the starting pitcher today for the Giants. So Logan Webb is scheduled to start, but I now see that it's popping up for the Giants as to be determined. So I guess time will tell if Webb will make the start for San Francisco tonight. I've been checking Twitter nonstop, and I haven't seen any official updates. But if Webb is on the hill and the Giants are still a home underdog, I will certainly be riding the Giants in this matchup. Like you mentioned, John, the Cardinals are playing very fundamentally sound baseball. But if you kind of take a look at the teams they've been pitted against, I know it's early season. It's very, way too early to be really making judgments on some teams. In some cases, like the Cincinnati Reds case, you can certainly kind of predict how they're going to finish out. But the Cardinals really haven't played anybody that's of a legitimate playoff caliber team this season. I know, again, it's early, but I'd like to see them take on some stronger teams. So they've won 3 of their last 5, again, all against subpar opponents, the Royals and the Diamondbacks. Miles McClanahan will make his 6th start of the season. He's actually 6th in the MLB with a 1.52 ERA, and he's 9th best in the MLB with a .84 WHIP. He's got 29.2 innings, allowed just 5 runs on 21 hits with 25 strikeouts. So he's kind of has that box score newspaper stats going for him. But I'm kind of not convinced that McClanahan is the better pitcher in this matchup if Webb is going. Webb hasn't not been overly impressive this season as he was last year, but the Giants have won 4 of the 5 games that he started. Through those 5 starts, Webb's gone 30.1 innings and has allowed 33 hits, which is a little bit unusual for him. But he's done a great job mitigating runs scored with only 11, 6 walks, and only striking out 20 batters this season. But the reason why I think the Cardinals will struggle is that they struggle versus righties. They're 24th in the MLB with a .624 OPS against right-handed pitching this season. Again, I think Webb, all things considered, is the better pitcher. And I think St. Louis needs to, beat up on a good team to kind of inspire that confidence. They're second in the NL Central behind the Brewers right now, who were the favorites to win the division. And the Giants, as we saw last year, are not surprising anybody this season because they're a good ball club. So I am going to go with the Giants as a home underdog, especially if Webb goes. If Webb does not go tonight, I would probably still lean San Francisco, but Webb is definitely a big factor in this decision on this bet tonight.
Great breakdown, Eric. Really well done. Let's see what the veteran, with all due respect, of course, Rocky Atkinson has to say about this matchup.
Yes, sir. Like Eric said, there's a lot of uncertainty going into this game here tonight. Webb, I think, was listed, and now it's undecided at the moment. as we're taping this or as we're live here on Thursday. So starting pitching means a lot to me when I'm handicapping baseball. And with that uncertainty, it's going to be tough to make a true call on this one. I'm going to give you a lean. I actually like this pitcher for St. Louis tonight, Miles Michaelis. He's 1-1 with a 1.52 ERA overall this year, 1-0 with a 0.77 ERA on the road this season, and he has a 0.93 ERA his last 3 starts. St. Louis hadn't really given him much run support here this year so far. St. Louis is allowing only 2.7 runs per game on the road this year, where they're holding opponents to a team batting average of only 228. That tells a lot about a team is how they play on the road. And St. Louis is 29-11 their last 40 road games. They're 12-3 the last 15 games during game 1 of a series. And they're 24-9 the last 33 games after a win. San Francisco, on the other hand, they're allowing 6.4 runs per game their past 7 games overall, where their opponents have a team batting average of 294. San Francisco's 1-5 the last 6 games overall. St. Louis has won 5 of the past 7 meetings in this series. I'm going to lean to St. Louis in this one.
Yeah, I think it's unanimous here. I do know that the Cardinals, according to my predictive models, no matter who is pitching, with Mikolas on the hill, there's a very high probability he's going to complete more innings of work than anybody that the Giants put out there, that it would be available to be put out there. And with that said, an 80% win percentage when the Cardinals pitcher completes more innings than the opponent's starting pitcher in road games that they are favored, I will immediately go with the Cardinals and you guys on that recommendation. So now we come out of the slides here and we go to the full screen, and it's time for our best bets of the show. We can do player props, game props. We can do whatever your heart desires, as long as it's your best bet or combination of best bets. So let's start with Eric. Pauly, take it away and give us your best bet for the show.
Yeah, so my best bet for this show is also something I wrote about on Sports Memo this morning, so you can check me out in the news column at Sports Memo. Again, I wrote about the Cardinals and Giants today, as well as the Marlins and Padres for those 2 picks. But my best bet of the day is the New York Mets plus 145 on the money line versus the Philadelphia Phillies. It's a great pitching matchup with Taijuan Walker versus Aaron Nola. This is Nola's 5th start of the season, but Philly is only 1-4 in the games that Nola starts. He has gone 27.2 innings so far this season, allowing 12 runs, 21 hits, and a very impressive 34 strikeout to 5 walk ratio so far this season. But the Mets absolutely mashed righties. They have a 747 OPS against right-handed pitching. Taijuan Walker's his 3rd start. His 1st start was really just a test start. He only went 2 innings. So he's only thrown 7 innings so far this season, allowed just 2 hits. He was an all-star last year, kind of fell off at the end of the season. I think he kind of has that ability to return to the all-star form. Philly does well against righties with a 708 OPS, but not as well as the Mets do against righties. Something to keep an eye on is that Kyle Schwarber has Taijuan Walker's number. He has 5 home runs and 13 at-bats against Walker. So if he can kind of mitigate that damage against Schwarber, I think that Walker can be effective against the rest of the Phillies lineup. But the real reasoning behind this pick is I think it's just a great value. You're getting the best team in the NL East, one of the best teams in all of baseball at the moment that is also playing like one of the best teams in the league at plus money. At plus, not just, plus 110, plus 115, at plus 140. Nola's definitely the better pitcher in this matchup. Walker can certainly do well. The Mets are beating the Phillies overall in the season series. And again, the value really lies in the fact that you are getting the better team overall at plus 145. And as a free best bet, that's certainly something that I'm not passing up, and I'm betting. Let's go Mets tonight.
Well, it's a good thing we don't have Kevin Thomas on the show, being the biggest Phillies guy I know, and Dr. Chuck. They would be throwing up. But tomorrow, Rob Vino actually told me this. Tomorrow in Philadelphia, it's going to be pretty nuts because you have the Phillies playing and then the Sixers right after it. The stadiums are right next to each other. And that would be pretty cool to do, to go see the Phillies play and then go watch the Sixers. That's a separate show with the NBA triple-double show. But I'm really surprised that the Sixers opened as a 1-point favorite. I think now it's gone to making Miami like a 1-point favorite. But That's one of the biggest line changes between games in the last 10 years, going from 8.5 down to pick 'em, basically. So I don't know what that's telling us, but it's telling me that this is a baseball show and not an NBA show. But I couldn't help myself. My best bet, boy, oh boy, I'll tell you, I do want to mention one thing here, if I may, with the that Mets game and the Phillies game, because I don't know if it's a statistical anomaly, but I put Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola as the pair of aces that the Phillies have. Zach Wheeler is pitching. The last two starts have been unbelievable. He pitched 78 pitches last night, went into the seventh inning, and I was surprised that Girardi took him out of the game. As I saw, I didn't watch the game live on TV. I just read the notes. But 78 pitches, I think somebody else out in California had 78 pitches and a no-hitter going, and they took him out too. But he was mowing down the Rangers. And run support for those two pitchers totals 3 runs over their last, I think it's 7 starts combined. You cannot win baseball games, last I checked, unless you score runs no matter who's on the hill. So I think that Noah is going to probably pitch very well. Walker's going to pitch very well. But the difference is that the Mets this year are actually getting men on base just like they did last year. But last year they couldn't get anybody to score. They would be runners in scoring position was one of the worst in the history of baseball last year. And now the baseball guys have switched it around, and now the Mets get runners on, and they just seem to get the clutch hit just about every single time. So I really agree with Eric's pick on that. My pick is going with the Fish and Luzardo, and you heard the reasons why. I think that young man is going to be a stud. And again, the Marlins are a team where if you get a win total that's anything south of 500 right now for the season, I would bet that with pizza money as well. So that brings us to the end. I always hate the end of these shows. I wish they could be like Manny's Pub last year. We had a couple shows that were live that went over 2 hours. And, I guess Tony Finn, Rob Vito, Mejia, Rocky, you were on that show. A lot of guys were on that show, and it was just a blast. It really was almost like being in the pub. And that was during the pandemic before the restaurants and the bars reopened. But we're going to have to get that show going again and have some fun with that maybe on a Friday afternoon. But Rocky, before I let you go, do you have anything going? Well, you already said you don't have anything going tonight, but you will have stuff going Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in all sports. And my NBA will be up later tonight for Friday with all, if everything kind of goes right. If not, it'll be up first thing in the morning. I did put out a MLB play today on the Boston Red Sox. And did they win or lose? I honest to God do not know. But that was a premium pick.
It was 0-0 last I saw.
It's 2-0 Angels at the moment in the top.
Well, that's not good.
Red Sox coming to the bat.
Well, I guess if you like the in-game betting like I do, this might be the time for me to end the show and hang up and put a pizza-sized bet on the Red Sox here. You're probably getting a pretty good number. Depending on what the inning is, it's got to be pretty close to the end, I would think. But anyway, we'll have full cards out later today and tomorrow for the full weekend. We have the Kentucky Derby going on. That's Saturday, right? I always forget. I get confused between the different races of like NASCAR and Saturday and Sunday. I mean, seriously, I love the Kentucky Derby. It's just so much fun to do. And that's about it. So I'm going to be quiet now. I'm going to end this show. So for Eric and Rocky, thank you for your time. And always remember the 2 things that I always like saying. And it's very important because I'm not kidding around. You bet with your head and never over it. And may all the wins be yours.